Welcome to QTV's political show, State of Affairs. I'm Mamadou Mbodj, sitting in for Aliou Cissé. I'm with my co-host, Mr. Sidi Cissé. Sidi?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbodj.
A different partner today?
Yes.
Yes. With less than a year to go to our presidential election, today we're going to talk about electoral matters. There is an election bill in the National Assembly which has generated some heated debate, to say the least. So today we're going to go through the whole 9 yards, if you like, considering all the different facets, different aspects of this election. So voter registration, diaspora voting, constituency boundaries. And to help us plunge the depths of some of these issues is Mr. Sidi Njai. He is an executive member of the Political Council of the National People's Party, the President's Party. Mr. Njai, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbodj. Thank you very much, Sidi Cissé, and hello, viewers.
Absolutely. Well, where do we start? Well, controversy is always a good place to start. I mean, recently there was some kind of controversy regarding these voter cards found, was it in the house somewhere in Canopy? It generated so much talk. I mean, what was your reaction then?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think what happened and what we were told by the Independent Electoral Commission, these are remnants of 2006 and 2011 and 2016 cards that, of course, were disposed by the Independent Electoral Commissions. And what's certain is that, according to the IEC, these are obsolete cards, and then, of course, all voters' cards will be rendered invalid, and there will be general voter registration from the 29th of May to 11 July 2021. And in fact, if you go to the Independent Electoral Commission, maybe what happened is probably the Independent Electoral Commission could have contacted all stakeholders and informed them the number of stock, the amount of stock they have, and that we all discussed, I mean, political parties and other stakeholders, and of course partners in the political process, so that we will all agree on how to dispose those cards. It would not have generated. What one could adduce is that probably somebody must have gone to the premises of the IEC, because they are disposed inside the IEC building. That's where they burned them. Somebody must have gone there and picked those cards, and then want to blow it out of proportion. But of course, probably the way they handle it could have been done better. But the cards are obsolete, and they are of no use, of no effect, because they bears no portrait or photos of holders, and there are certain features that probably but that is not there, that would, anybody who see those cards would know that they are not, they do not bear names or
anything. That's it. So, but the manner of disposal
maybe they could have invited all political stakeholders, and we would have probably agree on the way of disposing it. I heard they said probably they would now bury them. I read somewhere else, but most likely, in fact, what would have been more appropriate was probably for them to be thrown into the depth of the sea, the Atlantic Ocean. So agreed on all the number of voters' cards that are number of cards, let me say, and also with people looked at it, confirmed documentations, and maybe brought together maybe representative from various people. Independent way to go and to see that all of them have been thrown into the depth of the Atlantic Ocean. Somebody would also, because if you want to bury them, also somebody would probably see where you bury them and would want to, so certainly. But the Independent Electoral Commission of South Gambia, and we all know they weren't, as others were peddling cards that are registered by scrupulous individuals without the authority to register people. But nonetheless, I think the issue have been addressed adequately by the Independent Electoral Commission, and we hope it will be led to rest.
What did you make of the reaction, though, from a lot of quarters or political parties were coming out, and perhaps some of them suspected some sort of foul play? What do you make of that? Is that a sign of distrust? What do you make of that?
You know, in politics and in democracy, people have entitled their dissenting opinion, and as per organizations or individuals. But
didn't it show a kind of lack of trust of an institution where all parties really have to trust it and its decisions, not constantly be watchful over it as if we distrust it? Then there's a problem there, surely, isn't there?
Yeah, for me, I think probably the way they handle it, of course, they handle it in good faith. But maybe, as I said earlier on, it could have been handled in a better way. But for me, I think, personally, I even saw them, you know, in one of our inter-party committee meeting, I saw the cards where they burned them and these things. So I just conclude that somebody must have gone there to pick those cards from there and decide to blow it out of proposal. But the explanation of the Independent Electoral Commission, for me, I'm content with that. It suffices my own views and belief, and that I don't see and I don't suspect any foul play in that. But however, all stakeholders are right in their various opinions, but it doesn't mean probably the opinions are right also, but they are entitled to read.
Absolutely, you know, anybody can have them. Facts, though, that's the key issue here.
But as I said, it could have been done better.
Absolutely, that's, yeah, granted. Recently, wasn't it, in the papers, we heard the CEO of the IEC, was it Mr. Sambunjang Jai?
Yes.
I mean, according to the papers, apparently he thinks that government is not very serious in bringing in free and fair elections because of in the election bill. I think there were certain errors. What did you make of that, Sidinjai's criticism? Well, something purportedly, it was purportedly Sambunjang Jai, sorry. Yes. It was purportedly attributed to him. Let's be careful, even though afterwards the IEC chairman came out and said that Mr. Njai was misquoted. Yes. What did you make of that?
Yeah, for me, and personally, when I read that story, I had a doubt. I had doubt that it emanated from Sambunjang Jai, because considering the Independent Electoral Commissions and also the government of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, its commitment towards democratic dispensations, free, fair, and credible elections, which of course is attested to by everybody. The political space is there, and the will of government, for the goodwill from government to deliver election, of course, on time, free, fair, and transparent and credible. And considering the gigantic strife government is taking, especially in the electoral, in the election proposed bill, of course, that is to be at par to international standard and democratic norms. So for me, it is fallacy for one to adduce or insinuate that the government of President Adama Barrow is not committed to free, fair, and credible elections. That all political stakeholders, be it political parties, be it civil society, or development partners, international organizations, and of course monitors, would only conclude that President Adama Barrow's government is committed to political pluralism, is committed to level playing field, and is committed to a just law that reflects election that will stand the test of time. Yes. And it is unfair for anybody to suggest. However, we are consoled by the fact that the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission indicated that the IEC and government is committed to delivering credible elections. Whether of course, the purported statement which is associated to Sambunjang Jai, I haven't had the opportunity to find out if really from him, but what we heard from the chairman, it wasn't from him. So therefore, we are reassured by the chairman of the IEC, and we are reassured by government we also saw, there are some errors in the bill. I think
that's precisely it. What did you make?
I think
the error was put in 41.
Yeah, the error was.
Wasn't that a bit sloppy?
No, really? Maybe it could have been probably somebody who was drafting the final these things made some errors by copying from the other sections and putting them in. But once they went to Parliament and to the public, everybody knew that was an error. And the Ministry of Justice came on and apologized and indicated that it was an error and that since it had been corrected. And of course, because you look at some of the clauses and sections they put in there, and it was never agreed on by the stakeholders. And of course, you realize those things, in fact, are not, they are not even in a government proposal for them to form part of the first zero draft of the bill. It went to validation, and then so it was corrected. And I think that is also shows the magnanimity of government, and also that shows that those who drafted are human. To err is human, but to
forgive divine.
Forgive or to accept is a divine gesture. They've done that. They have informed the public that it was an error, and it has been corrected.
Well, absolutely. So, for you, that wasn't much of a big deal.
No, they brought the bill to the Parliament and say it's an error. That was it.
Absolutely. So now we get into the details of the election bill. Some people have criticized it on so many different levels. NPP, any criticisms of
No, NPP was part of the political stakeholders that were invited for a validation. And all the political parties, civil society, development partners were invited. And of course, I'm sure they've consulted widely. You may probably question how wide was it wide. But then we all made our suggestions, our observation, and then at the end of the day, the majority agreed on some of, in fact, on those that probably emanated from there, and that for government to table it to the National Assembly. So as such, we were part of the process, and those who probably did the validation, and because there are a lot of issues that are progressive. And we are aware there's this voter registration, people are talking about it. People are talking about the mere fact that elections is almost about 8 months to December 4th or so, and that how significant some of those pieces of legislation could be put in place, considering that the best practice on elections and governance of the ECOWAS protocol on elections and governance, that you may not be, they encourage and discourage. They discourage the issue of making substantial changes to electoral law 6 months before elections, because it might be a recipe for argument, dispute, and but then, however, nonetheless, the IEC is going ahead as per the existing laws of the Gambia to issue voters' card for the December 4th election, and also preparing the election in accordance with the existing laws until or when they either change or not prior to elections.
But certain things have been changed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bod. I'll come back to where you stopped. First, regarding the election. If you remember well, Mr. Njai was part of the APRC, where the present camp he tended to be part of was asking for electoral reform. How do you feel right now, sitting with the NPP and be part of the IPC, the Inter-Party Committee, and putting forward some of those electoral reforms? And one would think, actually, what has been fought for has not been delivered as far as the reforms are concerned.
No, that is not correct. A reform or the process, it is a gradual process. So this thing cannot be achieved or realized overnight. And
we're talking about 4 years.
When you talk about the electoral reform, key among them at the time, you remember there was this election amendment bill in 2015.
Yes.
Wherein for one to contest elections as a candidate for the presidential elections, you have to deposit $1 million.
Yes.
For parliamentary, 100,000, mayoral, 50,000, and council, so on and so forth. And these are some of the main issues that they were highlighting as very stiff, geared towards restricting people to come forward to be elected. And once the government of President Adama Barrow came into power, those things were amended.
That was when you were in Parliament.
That was in after the elections. After the presidential
was it an APRC majority in Parliament?
It was APRC majority in Parliament.
That made that amendment.
Yeah, but it was a bill that emanated from the executive. It wasn't a private member's bill. Okay. So it was amended, changed by the current government.
Because at the time they needed it because they don't have the covers, they don't have the money to sponsor all those candidates.
No, I am not privy to that, and I don't want to know because I'm not there. I wasn't there treasurer to know whether they have it or not. But the general feeling at the time was it was very exorbitant, it was expensive, and that they needed electoral reform. Electoral reforms meaning those things should be removed, expunged from our laws. And I think when they came into power, one of the promises was for electoral reform. Yes. And those were the first things that came from cabinet under the leadership of President Adama Barrow to Parliament for it to be removed. And that was done.
Yeah, but, so as we speak right now, what is the deposit for a presidential candidate?
Yeah, it is...
still have $1 million?
As amended in 2017.
In 2017, there was 10,000.
Yes.
No. For
but with the new election bill,
for the president.
I am talking about the current law, the existing law.
Yeah, the existing electoral law that we have.
It's 10,000.
It's 10,000. When it was amended in 2017.
Yes.
10,000 a National Assembly member, 5,000 mayor, 2005 local council, 1,002.
Before 2017.
Yeah, it was half $1 million.
Yes. So they were. So therefore. Reforms on that aspect have been government's commitment towards that has been delivered by President
new bill,
Adama
is it the same in this new bill, the proposed bill?
No,
that's what we have to find out.
You see, I don't want to go deep into it, but I'm telling you, political parties themselves, the majority of the...
What do you mean you don't want to go deep?
No,
because this is a public
at
discussion,
the validation, political parties suggested an increment. Political parties representative, majority of the political parties representative at the validation supported an increment to the deposit.
Okay. How do you feel?
All the political majority...
This were the very political party at the time were fighting to say these are very expensive deposits. So if they should sit here by 2021 and say we need to increase that, that's baffling.
Well, I may not even want to...
absolutely,
I may not want to name the political parties that suggested. Personally, I was there. But
did NPP ask for increment?
No, NPP, no. For my argument, I think I made a contribution at the time, but was voter registration. We will come there. But on the increment, I'm telling you, majority of the political parties sought for an increment. And all those stakeholders who were there, led on the majority, every clause that will come on, if it is contentious, political parties and stakeholders will be allowed, will be given the opportunity to argue on their side of the story. At the end of the day, if you've seen it's consensus, then if it is not, maybe...
So we are expecting...
The bill, you see the bill, that came from the validation to cabinet for them to... That was the consent. That was the views.
So we should be expecting, heavy fees for nominations.
Yeah, there are a lot of thought. There are a lot of schools of thought on that. Some were also suggesting that independent candidate must deposit higher than political parties. Their argument was that political parties, invest a lot of money in coming up with regional and national bureaus, maintaining them.
Are you guys creating a boys' club?
No, I am telling you.
And there's a suggestion that in the new bill it will be 500,000 for president.
Yes, that's a suggestion. Yes.
No, what I'm saying, some people, that's their own opinion. because others are saying, no, every citizen, the Constitution gives you the right to be elected or to either to be voted in or to vote in for people. So it should be as President Adama Barrow, would always say. He said, he would always say that the field should be level, and it should be very easy. There shouldn't be unreasonable restriction for people to participate in elections, electioneering, or referenda, or in the process. So that is for us. We are committed to that. But I can assure you that
in the new bill, it suggested that it's going to be 500,000.
I can assure you that in the draft bill,
true?
majority of the political parties accepted.
They accepted the 500,000. Coming back to that,
in fact, some of them would.
When he talked about the money that's supposed to be paid, say independent candidates should pay higher and stuff. I think that, in my opinion, that is actually unconstitutional.
No. I mean,
what I'm saying.
No. Maybe I mean, even some were suggesting.
That's what I'm saying. Some were suggesting if that has to be in the bill,
whether it's
that would not be right.
No, whether it is constitutional or not is for the Supreme Court to
but some
decide.
people will take it to the Supreme Court.
But you see, the National Assembly's inherent responsibility is to enact laws.
To enact laws.
And do you see the present National Assembly as a partisan assembly?
Of course, it's a partisan. Of course.
Partisan.
Of course. Not only Gambian National Assembly, but all parliament around the world.
Yes,
it's parliamentary democracy. All their interest, that's parliamentary democracy.
Yes, it's the
interest of political parties or leaders is first, is the interest of their party. The political interest of the party, or the interest of that particular political party in any given country, whether developing country, developed country, poor country, whatever you call it, red or yellow.
Is that not contradictory?
Let me come in. The interest of that political party, that is the interest of the membership and supporters, would used and trade as a national interest.
Yeah. For just a final note, a final question on this, Mr. Jai. Yes, Mr. Jai, just before you come to America, is it not contradictory to see this set of political parties who were behind the reduction of deposits 2017 and 2021 to ask for an increment? I think it is hypocritical, in my opinion.
Thank you very much for saying in your opinion. But,
yes.
For me, I am not a member of those political parties. And then when they make decisions, I don't know what is the reason of coming up.
We're talking about the moral judgment here.
No, we are not talking about moral judgment. We are talking about law and political judgment. It's not about moral judgment. That's the nature of politics. We are not talking about moral judgment here.
Absolutely.
Because, in law, law and morality.
Two different things.
Sometimes something could be immoral, but legal.
Absolutely.
Some could be illegal, but moral. Okay. So we are not...
You are playing safe with this.
No, I'm not playing safe, Thomas. We are not talking about morality.
Okay, but the very reason that you said, the very reason of party interest, everyone absolutely understands it. This is like multi-party democracy. This is how it works. But this is it. Why?
Look at the parliament. You talked about the National Assembly, and you drifted from that question.
But still, Mr. Jai, this is the reason. This is the very reason why some of them, when you look at, for instance, the provisions on constituency demarcations, some very interesting things really happening there. For instance, Kumba North, I think previously it had been separated into 3 constituencies, haven't they? Sane Mentereng, Busumbala, and the other one. Now they've merged them all, Old Yundum as well. Now merge again to Kumba North, isn't it?
No,
more than 120,000.
No, I think it was part of the error. It was part of
so
the
that one has been removed as well.
Yeah, because the issue of the
interesting one as well.
Because the issue of the demarcation was not part of the draft, so it was part of the error. In fact, the Ministry of Justice have, is for the boundary commission, something like that.
So everything will remain exactly as it is.
As it is, yes.
The 3 constituencies.
Yeah, those things might be seen. Some might think it's a major changes in the electoral law, and the election is almost. So I don't think whether. Maybe after that, what could be done was should be maybe probably to come up with a piece of legislation demarcated for future elections.
Yeah, with the council, you think it is not time to look properly on some of these things, this demarcation? Let's take example of West Coast region. It's quite big, very big indeed. it should be two chairmen sitting in West Coast region, not one.
Yeah. You see, it's all about the way people.
It's not about the way.
I mean the way.
For service to be provided.
I'm saying it's all about the way probably you perceive and your opinion on issues. Because some will tell you the phone needs to be a standalone. Some will say, you know, the other area. But they will also tell you, in the West Coast region, probably when you remove the phone needs for them to stand alone, it's such a small region, and probably it might be like the Control Area Council. It might be very poor council. And others will tell you, no, maybe probably have the 3 or the 4 combos, the Combo South, Combo North, and Busumbala constituency as a council, as it is in the Central River region, the North itself and the South. But they will tell you, of course, because of the natural geographical boundary, that's the river, that makes it easy to have administration, local administration in the North and local administration in the South. Others will also tell you the URLs should be done the same. Others will say, no, in fact, it is too small a population for it to be.
Should that be the most important factor? There must be this relative equality of numbers.
Others also will tell you. Others will tell you when come to voting. Probably by the constituency demarcation, their argument is that somebody could be elected, or who an elected MP will have over 50,000 votes. You see an elected MP who the total number of his constituency is about 3,000 votes. So you know they will argue on, they'll argue on all these things. But the issue of Janjambure is a unique situation, because at the time I think what they were thinking was, if, for instance, if Janjambure is part of other constituencies as it was outside the island, outside the island, it makes certain logistical problem also. So because of its natural location by the river, being an island, so it was ideal for it to be a standalone constituency. So you see, there are a lot of pundits, there are a lot of argument to these things, and whichever side you are into.
I think we probably looked at the service, where we provide service and better service for the people and the electorate.
And really, because of the nature of our democracy, because in the end, in the National Assembly, it's going to be equal voices. It doesn't matter how many people you have. So that sort of, it sits uneasily with certain democratic principles, doesn't it? Well, we'll just take a short break and then we'll come back to our discussions. Viewers, just hello, welcome back to the program State of Affairs. I am Mudumbo sitting in for Aliou Cisse, and I'm joined here by my co-host Sidi Cisse. Here we are talking about electoral matters, and to help us chew over some of these issues is Mr. Sidi Njai. He's an executive member of the Political Council of the National People's Party. Mr. Njai, just before the break, you know, we're going into the details of, well, as reported, some of the details of the election bill, the demarcations, the constituency demarcations granted. Are we surprised that still now we haven't got a boundaries commission? It's been a while, and people, in fact, there was a Commonwealth Observer Group way back in 2006 pointed out that the significant imbalance, disparity between constituencies, the ideal should be for all these constituencies to have relatively similar numbers. You can never have exact numbers, but relatively similar numbers. And apparently there was a time when the IEC chairman, just before the 2002 National Assembly elections, Tulawa Johnson, tried to come with an idea like that. It was scuppered by the party then, and I think, CD, that was your party, wasn't it? What do you think?
Yes, you're right. 2002, I think I was in probably 2002. I was in Guinness. I was in grade 10, 2002. Okay. But you see, the issue of constituency boundaries commission is very important because at least you have a proportional representation. But you know, maybe in the past, sometime you know, politically, you looked at it, when you look at it with your political lens, it might be one section of the political class might think it's disadvantageous to redemarcate. The other political class also will see it as an advantage. So they will.
So political interest is more or less gerrymandering. It is gerrymandering.
Yeah, exactly. So they looked at the pros and cons and decided to settle on the current status quo. Because, for instance, if from point A to point B is one constituency, and it's predominantly government. You know, there are certain constituencies, they are always into the ruling party.
We call it the safe seat.
The safe seat, always into the ruling party.
Okay.
Now, but if the number of votes in that constituency, if you add it to another constituency, that might not be in the safe always, seats. You know, and that's the majority. So when you put them together, you might tend to lose a seat in that.
One absolutely understands the political interest, but then the body responsible for drawing these boundaries, now it is with the IEC.
It should be,
once that body is independent and autonomous, never mind what all these parties think, you will have the right
the IEC should be tasked with the responsibility of the boundary commissions.
It is now.
It is within them. So then they will also look at the feasibility and the viability of redemarcating, considering the fact that we are almost into election. So maybe I don't know what they may be thinking, to do it now or to do it after elections. But you know, if you want to do it now, you are going in for general voter registration.
Would it not be best, Mr. Njai, to do it now, whilst we are going into voter registration?
Yeah, it may not feel feasible now.
Why? Because if say, for example, a particular place been demarcated, and we go into voter registration, that those people in that particular area knows that I'm registered under this particular section.
No, that's why they may not be able to know. Now it's almost at the 11th hour. You know, the general voter registration is 29th May. It's about 60 days.
Why do you think they didn't start?
Less than it's about 30.
They were here. Granted. No, they've had this time. How come? Why do you think they have not started earlier?
No, let me finish. No, let me finish. It's about 34 days. I don't know, 34 days or 33 days to the general registration. Yeah, so I don't know what are the legal procedures of demarcating, gazetting or whatever, sensitization, telling the people this is your, you know, this thing has been
just as Mr. Mboja said, just about
okay, let me finish.
Why they did not start it earlier?
No, I don't want to answer that first. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
So you see, for now, practically, it might be practically impossible, almost, for the next election. So I think what could be feasible and what could be acceptable by all probably for after election, to have enough time to demarcate, gazette, sensitize after 5 years, then everybody would know after this election here and here is. So for why they have not done it in the past, maybe you have to get officials of the Independent Electoral Commission.
No, we just ask you, what do you think? You know, one would have thought that perhaps they could have started earlier. They've been dragging their feet.
Yeah, maybe
that is such a priority area.
Maybe, I'm not sure. In 2002, as you indicated, it was ignited by the Reverend Solomon Tilo Johnson.
Tilo Johnson, yeah.
I was in secondary school at the time. I am not privy to the reason why it was dropped, and also from then to now it have not been resuscitated. I may not be privy to that, but you know, pundits of representation would always want proportionate representation of members of parliament around the world. So they would always call for boundary commissions where probably not the same numbers, but at least
relatively. Mr. Jai, we move to the diaspora election voting. Right, there have been a lot of talk, and I think under the leadership of President Adama Barrow, as far as the transitional government is concerned, that was a big pledge that was put forward. That people in the diaspora, Gambians in the diaspora, would have the right to vote. It looks like that's not happening anymore.
Yeah, Mr. Sise, I think that is important. Every Gambian, as per Section 39 of the 1997 Constitution, as per the constitutional provision, that if you meet the required age, 18 years before or on election day, you are entitled to be voted and to vote in. And if you are to vote in, you must acquire a valid voter's card issued by the issuing authority. And I am of the opinion that every Gambian should have a voter's card. That's our constitutional right. Limitations
reinforced recently by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, limitations probably might be there in terms of logistical, or you know, in the arguments I'm telling you, how do you demarcate the diaspora? Those are technical issues with the technicians who would determine that. But my opinion is that every Gambian should have a voter's card.
Yeah, and I understand that's your opinion, but like you said, the technicians and the visibility for that to happen seems not to be on the table.
Really
so do you think it will happen in this presidential election?
It might happen on a tedious job, but it looks very slim.
For instance, are they registering right now?
No,
registration will start on the 29th.
On the 29th.
I wonder if there's a mechanism for them to register.
Yes, that's why I mean.
No, I don't think the registration actually can go ahead as far as the diaspora is concerned under the present constitution.
That's 29th. Yeah.
No, under the constitution, of course.
No, they have a right.
They have a right to be registered,
but whether the mechanism is there.
Yes, you know, they have the right to be registered.
Yes.
But whether the logistical arrangement and materials, therefore the Independent Electoral Commission, knowing fully well that also we are not going in for paper voting, paper ballot, something like that.
Paper ballot.
Paper ballot. You know, there are a lot of logistical arrangement with huge cost. I'm not sure if that is only the IEC technicians who will be able to tell us.
But you are saying it's a very slim chance for it to happen.
Because it's 29 May.
Yes.
I don't know whether honest IEC come and tell us how they would do it, because I expect them to cluster them into constituencies probably.
This one is not going to happen.
Maybe that's why I mean maybe that's the timing I'm talking about. That's the timing I'm talking about. If election was probably next year, middle of 2022, maybe we would still have time for them to put those logistics together. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe they have done that behind the scene. Maybe because you have to cluster them, whether the Africa region or Africa constituency, the Southeast Asia or the Asia, the Europe, then every government also somebody maybe in the Iceland, or you go to the Far East, in China or in Sydney, there are 3 Gambian also, they also would claim the rights.
But Sidi, is it, I felt the same as far as this is concerned. Our neighbors, Bissau, Conakry, Senegal, they have been doing it for years. And we are here. After all these years, we still cannot do it. Is it because the political will is not there, or is it because somebody is not doing their job?
So are you saying that there are templates that one can follow?
I don't want to engage in the blame game, but I know the current political will is there for every Gambian to vote or be voted in. And what my argument, because I wouldn't want to say I'm not an expert in that, and it's not under my domain. It's under the Independent Electoral Commission. The only thing I could say is it's my wish for every Gambian, wherever you live, even if you are in Planet Mars, to be registered. But how to get to Planet Mars to register the Gambian there solely that answer would be answered by the authority responsible of registering them.
But you were in a government, which was the APRC government.
No, at the time,
They
the
had
APRC,
yes.
at the time, until today, the diaspora, they have not been registered. So it's not, it's
if
irrelevant.
you had started the ball rolling, probably we would not be
It's irrelevant for me to belabor on that now. Now, because what we are seeing is, for me, it's important for them to vote. If the former government choose not to, or probably choose not to provide the adequate logistical material and resources to the Independent Electoral Commission for them to do that, then that's history. Now, what we are saying, government is committed to that. And for this election now, you know, most of the things started. You know, as I said earlier, you know, it's difficult for a holistic or a total change overnight. So you see, all these things are coming now. There are a lot of progressive, you know, piece of legislation that have been drafted. There are a lot of other piece of legislation existing still, because some are saying they are draconian. They're not being implemented by the current government. They are silent on some of those things because they may think that it might not be best practice. And government is committed towards, you know, putting up a mechanism where all our piece of legislation would stand the test of time. So so those are the things. You know, of course, being a part of former government, of a former ruling party, and we have not registered a Gambia in the diaspora or a Gambia in planet Mars. That doesn't mean I would agree that Gambians should not be registered. No, I believe every Gambians have the right.
And you believed it then?
Huh?
Whilst you were in the party, you believed it then?
Yeah, but I was not the member of the IEC, and I was not in charge
absolutely.
of,
but here, I think
in charge of giving the logistical and material. And sometimes, maybe my opinion, or I may just keep it to myself.
No,
even if I say it, I don't have. But I believe, I am an ardent believer of everybody who reach the age of 18. So
that's absolutely true. And you've said that you are not into the blame game. Absolutely, nobody should be in the blame game. All that we are saying is that if it is my right to get something, then it is somebody else's responsibility to give it to me. Yeah, when comes presidential elections, I cannot vote. It is somebody else's responsibility who has failed in fulfilling that responsibility.
You know, it might be your right.
Somebody else's responsibility.
It might be your right.
That's how it works.
It might be your right to get something. And the responsibility is
somebody else's to give it.
And the responsibility by law is vested on somebody.
Yeah, yes.
In that somebody also, by law, responsibilities have been also vested on him to look at the possibility, the viability, and to get the logistical and resources and everything to get that done. So if by one way or the other, because of by nature of our existence as a nation and as a developing country, that we may not be able to have, because we have shortcomings in getting all those required logistics.
But other developing countries have done it. There are others who are in a similar boat, really. But they've done it.
No. You see, one could also, there are other developing countries have done it. But their systems of doing it and our system are not the same.
Well, we are not doing it.
For example, the system of voting in the Gambia and the system of voting in Guinea-Bissau, the system of voting in the United States of America and in Senegal are not the same.
So we have to adapt?
So because, because of that, there are huge difference. And that is why the Independent Electoral Commission was suggesting that the paper balloting. But because when they looked at the paper balloting for the past 2 or 3 years, and they looked at the nature of the Gambia,
Are you saying we are worse off in terms of the nature that you talk about, the literacy rate?
No,
the marble and paper.
No, not that. You see,
I don't see the reason why we cannot adopt the paper ballots.
No, I'm not saying that. You see, in only 2 or 3 years, for me, I think you need 5 years to sensitize the Gambian on how to vote by using the paper balloting.
We are being infantilized.
And also,
yes.
and also
we had the 5 years.
And also,
we had it.
Yeah, you know, we had 5 years.
We didn't have a coup d'etat. We had a democratic elected government that took power. So it is not a coup d'etat. And this was a government that was asking for all those reforms. And all of a sudden, they abandoned the reforms and they mind their own business and forget about everything else. And now telling us we don't have the time. We don't have the time. I don't think it's a question of time. It's a question about not having the political will to move things forward.
No, that is not accurate, Mr. Sise.
Okay.
You know, the Independent Electoral Commission and even government, President Barrow, informed Gambians that they are committed towards migrating from the marble balloting to paper balloting. We all saw that. And they went for the ICT commission. They were committed towards that.
But we had a couple of by-elections that we could experiment these things, but it never happened. So they were interested in it.
Perhaps in Nyamina West,
yes,
and possibly could have experimented with
now
that.
You see, the Independent Electoral Commission works with all stakeholders and their partners. And at the time, whenever the chairman speaks, he will tell us that 2021 December election is paper balloting. But later on, they came and told us that they have been working towards it, but it's not attainable. And then probably it was your responsibility to get the commission members and staff for them to get us into those nitty-gritties, the logistical problem. But they told us that. But they told us.
I see more logistical problem now with the drums.
We were told no.
Than a paper ballot. Imagine you have.
That was what the
imagine, Mr.
No, the chairman said.
Let me just put this in. Imagine you have 17 or let's say a dozen presidential candidates.
Absolutely.
With all these drums from left and center, right?
The chairman said it.
Yeah,
that's why
that's really difficult.
You see, that's what he said.
I don't know how they're going to magic it.
It incurs a lot of cost. But at the final end, it's very simple.
How simple?
You mean the paper ballot?
No.
Or the marble?
Yes, the marble.
But the paper ballot is so simple.
No, let me comment. That's what they told us. The Independent Electoral Commission told us that, for you, it is simple. Even for many, it's very simple. But there are also forest of Gambians. It's very difficult. And the IEC, they needed adequate time. Anyway, I am not holding brief.
But there are other African countries.
I am not holding.
We have similar literacy levels.
I am not holding brief.
I am
not holding brief.
I
am not holding brief for the Independent Electoral Commission.
Absolutely, but it's just the principle.
But I have listened to some political parties, their spokesperson speak. No, they are stakeholders.
Okay.
Let me
you are not speaking for IEC. Let you speak for
let me finish first.
Okay.
And the principles involved.
When the IEC was coming up, let Jerry say.
No, let me finish first.
Okay.
Let me finish first.
Okay.
Thomas, you see, I had some political parties. Okay. They cast doubt on the viability of the paper balloting for this.
Including the NPP?
For NPP just got born in 2019 December.
So you did not?
No, let me finish. Don't put words in my mouth, and you cannot.
Okay.
So in fact, the IC will tell you, and it's public knowledge. Most of these spokespersons of various political parties, considering 2021, since last year, they were probably casting doubt on the viability. You see, as a journalist or a civil society activist or a so-called human rights activist, you sit on televisions or on newspapers or in your computer, Facebook, talking about this. That doesn't make it happen. You see, to be honest with you,
you're slandering us.
To be honest with you, it needs a lot of sensitization for us to migrate from the current system to paper balloting. You go to a Serer or a Jola hamlet in the Foni or in the Nyomis, not like us, the Fullers. When you go to the Fuladu, it might be very easy for us to understand. But it is Serer and the Jola.
Every household in the Gambia today have got a high percentage of literacy.
But let's be careful here. I think, Sidi, let's be careful here. I think he's being patronizing. It assumes in some way that education is the same thing as intelligence. I may not have any education, but be intelligent. That's all I need, to be intelligent. Then I can
to
vote.
be able to vote.
See,
that's natural. That's God's gift.
You don't just assume that the minority of the Gambian are literate. And that because of
education, we're talking about two different
some
things.
of the noisy minority, that you just assume that reflect the views and opinion of the majority.
No
and that we are told by the Independent Electoral Commission that it is not viable, even though since 2019 they were talking about the paper balloting. And they told us they did all their research, they did all their consultations, and they did all their whatever it takes, logistical, whatever, and they told us now it's not possible for this.
It is not possible because what the political stakeholders felt it is not to their interest. Is that the bottom line?
Which political stakeholders?
You just said some spokesperson of political parties. Yes.
Yes. You know,
it's a patronizing
electoral process
that people wouldn't understand.
You see, Mr. Moj, electoral process is very complex. If you are making a major migration or a major shift as a body in charge of conducting elections, you must engage all your stakeholders.
But we have seen the CRC. They've gone the left and the right and everywhere in this country.
When you talk about the CRC, you see,
you talk to them. You go to the bantabas, you go to the market women,
when you
go
talk
to the
about
farmers, you go to the hamlet, and tell them what we are doing.
No, when
it's
you talk
so
about
simple.
the CRC, they told us that every Gambian, but that's not correct. That's not correct.
How do you know
They have consulted few Gambians. They have been
so is that why you put the knife inside the
draft? How do you know?
No,
how do
they
you
have
know
been to, you see, when you go to a constituency of 100,000 voters, eligible voters, 100,000. You meet 50 people, 20 people. Is that the majority? You move to another constituency.
But if the publicity is done to say we are coming to a particular place.
No, let me come in. No, okay. Thomas, let me come in. You see, it is not correct. But to say they consult the CRC when and consulted every Gambian.
But surely, what does it mean?
The Independent Electoral Commission,
a certain number would do to give a reasonable
no, you see,
flavor
the Independent
of
Electoral Commission, for them to be able to implement the paper balloting, they must have adequate time. There must be adequate sensitization.
What is adequate time?
Well,
1 year, 2 years,
another 50 years?
We should ask them, because for them, for them, they are saying the time is not there.
Okay. I think we better move to another thing. We're not going to get anywhere with this. Mr. Njai, let's come to the CRC, the draft. It's no longer the draft. Maybe it's on life support. Is NPP in any position to bring oxygen tanks to bring this draft back to life?
No, the NPP is not an executive arm of government.
But the head of state is the leader of NPP.
NPP is a political party.
Okay.
And our leader is the chief executive officer of this country. And he gave 100% commitment to giving Gambian a new constitution. By law, what was expected of him was to set up the CRC. In fact, before that, he ensured that his government went to parliament to set up the CRC. It got passed and he assented to it, and they appointed people to the CRC. And they were given their TOR to consult Gambians. They consulted Gambians. And he ensured that all the procedures, they went, and the first draft came into him, he did what is expected of him. And asked many Gambians who give their own thought and opinion, and of course concern, as per the draft, gave in their input to the CRC. For one reason or the other, CRC chose to ignore the addendum Gambian gave to them and come with and then, let me finish, Thomas. Okay. They sent in the same copy to the head of state, being a person who is committed to delivering. He endorsed as it is and sent it to Parliament, who have not a single member of Parliament at the time, and they rejected it. When they rejected it, still for his goodwill, when there was suggestion for it to resuscitate, for them to resuscitate it, and
was
then
they come up with disappointed when it was rejected? Were you guys disappointed when it was rejected?
They came up with opinion.
Were you disappointed?
And suggestion that we need an eminent person to lead in the dialogue,
because
it's a political process. It needs political discussion and political consensus.
Were you disappointed when it was
that
rejected?
was also done, and all the requests were done by government. Now that it is not feasible, so I suggest we move on to other topics.
Absolutely. We've come to the very end. Thank you very much there for refusing to answer my last question, but it doesn't matter. Why? Thank you very much. We've come to the very end. Thank you very much. It's all right. Sise, thank you very much, and Sidi Jai, thank you very much for coming of the NPP.
Pleasure.
And viewers, thank you very much. Until the next time, bye-bye. Well, it will be Aliu.